Yeah. So in the last session, we have seen, like how to create a simple web page using HTML and JavaScript for writing your actions. Okay. So if you go with HTML, so everything has to be written manually by the developer. Whenever you want to create a control, the complete control creation code and everything has to be written manually. And second thing is, it doesn't support programming languages. So it supports only scripting languages. So you have to write all your actions using scripting language like VB script and JavaScript. But when it comes to scripting language, it doesn't contain proper data types. So you cannot manage your memory efficiently. There will be a lot of memory wastage. Okay. So we have seen some issues with the scripting languages. So what Microsoft has done, so Microsoft has overcome all this drawback by introducing another powerful framework technology that is called ASP.NET. 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 ASP means active server pages. Active server pages.NET. So Microsoft has built a technology based on HTML, that is ASP.NET, active server pages.NET. It is a platform independent technology. You can develop your web applications using programming languages. It has provided the support of different programming languages like C#, VB.NET. Earlier, we used to write all our actions using scripting languages. So we have seen a lot of issues with scripting languages. So now you can stop using scripting languages. Now you can write your actions using high-level object-oriented programming language like C# and VB.NET. And here in HTML, you need to write the code manually to create your controls. Here you don't have to write it manually. If you just drag and drop that control, the equivalent amount of code will be generated automatically by the Microsoft system. Okay. Any questions, guys?
No.
Okay.
No, sir.
Now let's see. Let's start, creating websites using ASP.NET and C#. So go to your Visual Studio, select new project. Here you will see .NET Core and .NET. .NET Core is different. Later we will discuss about .NET Core. So for now you start to select ASP.NET web application. Okay. Next, my first website. Choose where do you want to store. Okay. As I said, it targets multiple frameworks. Okay. So select the respective framework. Next, create. So it asks you when it comes to classic ASP.NET, we have two things, .NET framework, .NET Core. Okay. Now we are working on .NET. Empty. It creates an empty project and web forms and MVC. These two are different. Okay. When it comes to web form, it creates a website with some default web forms where you can add a number of web forms based on your requirement. And when it comes to MVC, here it follows MVC architecture like model view controller. Okay. So we'll come to this later. First, let's go through web forms. Okay. Here you can choose. See, you can target three things. One is a web form, MVC, a web API. Okay. So there is no much difference between MVC and web API except your views. Okay. So later we'll discuss about these two, and we'll also create some applications in MVC as well as web API. Right now we will focus on web forms. Okay. And while creating this, you can also configure the protocol. Configure for HTTPS. Yesterday we have discussed about the protocols, right? Why do we need a protocol like TCP, HTTP, and HTTPS? Okay. If you want, you can configure it. Otherwise, you can just disable it. Create. Okay, so this is ASP.NET environment. So like your Windows application project, go to Solution Explorer. This is your web project, right? Solution and project file. There you have app.config. Here we will see a web.config. There is application.configuration file. This is a web application, so we call it as web.config. As I said, if there are any configurations related to your project, you can put all configuration related values in the web.config. Okay, the architecture is almost similar. There you see, like whenever a new form is added, right? The extension of the form is .cs. There you will see two files, design file and code behind file, right? .design file and .cs file. Design file will have all controls and code behind will have all events, actions. Here also same thing. Whenever any new web form is added to your project, it comes with two files, .aspx, .aspx.cs and designer. It comes with two files. Designer.cs, same, it is almost similar to your web application. Designer.cs and .aspx.cs. What will be there in the designer.cs? It contains designing related information, all controls information. And your .cs file contains, it is a code behind file, which will have all events related to your controls. All events related to your controls. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
ASPX means active server pages extension. The extension of web form is ASPX, active server page extension. That is the extension of your web form. Windows form extension is .form.cs, form.cs. Okay. Okay. Now let's go to default.aspx. See, here you will see the overall structure of your ASP.NET also is going to be HTML. It looks like your HTML structure. It looks like your HTML structure because this has been built based on HTML structure only, standard HTML structure. Okay. Now, here it contains three things, design and source. If I go to design, it looks like your Windows form, where you will see your toolbox, right? Here you will see all controls, where you will see all controls like your Windows. As I said, you don't even need to write a single line of code to create your controls. Okay. You just need to choose the respective control from these. But here, if you want to create any web control, you just need to write like, minimum amount of code. That's it. Only 1 to 2 lines of code. That doesn't matter. So choosing the controls from the toolbox is not the best practice. Okay. So if you want to become expert, so start creating them on your own. Okay. So let's add a new web form. Forget about this default thing. Let's add a new web form like student. So whatever we have done there in your Windows application, here also we'll try to create the similar thing. Create a login page, go to your database, check where user exists or not. If the user exists, then redirect him to another web page. Okay. So let's add one more web form. I'm just going to delete these defaults. Delete this. Delete this. If you keep it also, no issue. Let's add new web form. Like your window form, you can add new web form. Student login or student main. So this is a structure. See here, you can see this is a standard structure. So internally, every web-based technology, it is .NET or the Java, everything will follow the similar standard HTML structure because these technologies are built based on standard HTML structure. On top of this, you will see the properties of this web page. Language is equal to C#. As I said, not only C#, you can use other languages also like VB.NET, VC++. Auto event wrap is equal to true because, as I said, your controls will be here And the events of controls will be there somewhere in the .cs file, right? As I said, it comes in two files, right? .cs file. Okay, so this event write up will be done automatically. So this web page contains two things: design and source. If I click on design, I will see the controls. If I click on source, I will see the source code of those controls. And what is the code behind file? .aspx.cs file. Okay, so okay. So this is a standard HTML structure, HTML, which contains two parts: header part and body part. And within this body, you can have a number of form tags. Okay, and div is like your container. In Windows, whenever you want to divide your form into different sections, we used to use containers, right? We used to have group box panel. So here, if you want to divide your web page into different sections, here your container is going to be div. Div is like a container where you can group set of controls related to the similar task. Okay, now let's create a control. How do I create this control? See here it supports IntelliSense. You don't have to remember anything. If I want to create a label, here I should take ASP colon label, ASP colon text box, ASP colon button, see, ASP colon list box. So whatever you discuss in Windows, we'll see all those controls here. ASP colon checkbox list, ASP colon radio button list. Are you following me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So let's create a div ASP panel. Here also you'll see the panel. Okay, so like this. Otherwise, if you want to create it from your toolbox, see, the code will be generated automatically. See, here I can see these things. Panel, wherever you want, just drag it, right? Here also it contains properties. If I press F4, go to properties, same like your Windows, you will see all the properties, right? The color, background, visual property, and everything. Okay. And the main property is like ID. ID is identification of the panel. Panel login. In Windows, that property was name. Your name is nothing but ID. Now, if I go to source, now I just dragged and drop this control, right? If I go to source, I can see this panel. ASP panel, ID is equal to panel login. Run it is equal to server. Height is equal to and width is equal to 1630 pixel. Right? That's why if you want, you can create it on your own. Okay. How do I create it? So it's very simple. No need to drag and drop. ASP, first type it. ASP label. Every control comes with set of properties, but two properties are important. What are those? ID property. ID is equal to LBL username. And next property is going to be run it is equal to server. Why should I give it as run it is equal to server? Because each and every ASP.NET web page is a server-based page. Whenever you click on anything, the entire page will be submitted to the respective web server. So wherever your website is deployed, the entire thing will be submitted to your web server. And your web page will be processed and response will be sent back to the client system. So sending requests and receiving response back from the server is called postback. We have discussed in the last class, postback, right? So every web page is a server-based web page. So the processing of this web page will be done on the server. That's why this property is mandatory. Run it is equal to server. These two are mandatory. ID and run it is equal to server. Next, what has to be displayed is called text property. Text is equal to user name and close. It will come ending that ending tag will come automatically. Next, if I want to create a text box, ASP text box, creating controls is very simple in ASP.NET. Now watch which property? IDE is equal to txt username. Run it is equal to server. That's it. Next, now go and see this. This is the source. This is design. Now I can see here. Username, text box. Right? Any questions, guys?
No.
Next, in a similar way, next break the current line. That is break ASP label. ID is equal to LBL password. Run it is equal to server. And text to be displayed is equal to password. If you press this, here you'll see all the properties. These are all the properties of this thing. Font and everything you can see here. Visible. Okay. Next. ASP label, so not label, text box. ID is equal to txt password. Run it is equal to server. Right? Next, here you can see these are all the properties of your text box. From there, you can press F4, or from here also you can see here. Whatever is required, just go ahead and a text mode. Text mode is equal to, you can see, whether it is multi-line or password. If you want to display some password characters, just set it to password. That's it. Next, just go to design. We created username and password. Next button. Break the current line. ASP button. ID is equal to btn sign in and run it is equal to server. And text to be displayed on the button is equal to sign in. Okay, now go there. Now what has to be done? Whenever I click on sign in button, what has to be done? Some action has to be performed. The action should take care of verifying this username and password with the database. Verifying this username and password with the database. Okay, and this is student main. This is student main. Okay, this is not login. Let's keep some other things here. Otherwise, let's rename this. Rename it to student login. Student login. Now, what has to be done? Whenever I click on sign in button, it has to perform some action. When that action has to be performed, on click of this button. Okay, now where should I write my action? So if you double click on this, it will take you to the code behind file, .cs file, where you can see the events of all control, like your Windows. This is called code behind file. Right? Whenever I click on the button, immediately the click event will be generated. The same events will be there in ASP.NET also. For button, click. For checkbox, check could change the event. For reader button, check could change the event. For drop down list, select index change. Same events will be here also. Okay. So if you want to generate it, or else you can also write it from here. On click is equal to this click event will be called. So if you want to see this, double click on this. Now, if I want to perform some action, on click of this button, I should write it here. Right? Now, where is my database? Open your database. Okay, let's create a new database. Create database student, let's say Oxford School, Oxford. Okay, my database got created. Now I can say Oxford. Now create a table. Create table users. ID int of identity of 1,1. Next username varchar of 100. It is a primary key. Next password varchar of 30. Next first name varchar of 50. Last name varchar of 50. Next.
Sir,
Ah,
your screen is frozen. We can't see the screen.
you can't see the screen?
It's stuck. I guess it's stuck in the student login page.
Okay, can you see it
Yeah.
now?
In the Visual Studio. It's still in Visual Studio.
Okay, now
No,
No.
sir. It's in Visual Studio.
let me reshare it. Okay. That's it. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So gender care of 1 and user type where care of 50. Address where care of 300. Okay. I create a table with username, password, first name, last name, gender, user type, and you can have any other fields. Okay. Now select star from users. Right. Let's create some stored procedures. Create close DBO dot, by default DBO only. Authenticate users. SP underscore authenticate users. It expects 2 parameters: username, varchar of 100, password, varchar of 30, as select count of star from DBO dot users, where username is equal to @username and password is equal to @password. Same thing. Whatever we have done in the Windows, here also we are going to do the same thing. There's no change. Here it is missing brackets. Right? Okay. Next, create another save SP for saving. SP save user. Here we need username, password, first name, first name, last name, next, gender, next, user type, Next address. Okay. As begin try and try. Make it as a regular practice. Okay. Begin catch, end catch. Right. So here what I will do, I will just insert this data. Right. Insert into DVO.users. What has to be inserted? This thing. Username. Password. First name. Last name. Gender. User type. And address. And values for these. For username, @username. For password, @password. For first name, @first name. For last name, @last name. For gender, @gender. And for user type, @user type. And for address, address. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? It's created. Here you can print you want. Print error message, it's option. Okay. Anyway, I created two SPs, one for authenticating user, SP underscore authenticate user, one for saving, just refresh it. User information. Oxford, this is table. It doesn't contain any data. Select star from users. Right? Now it contains two stored procedures. SP authenticate user, SP save user. And when it comes to web application, whether it's web or Windows, the concept is similar. Okay, here also we are going to make use of ADO.NET. In MVC, we will see MVC entity framework using system.data.SQL client. System.data.SQL client. Okay, so write your method. You can make use of this thing. And as I said, when it comes to connection string, okay, so what is the use of a configuration file? So when it comes to connection string, usually during our development, we'll be working with development with database server, right? There will be 4 database servers in the real time: dev database server, QA database server, staging, and production. During development, you need to point your application to dev database server. Next, when we push it into next level, QA, this connection string should be pointed to QA database server. Server name will be changed, right? So connection string is going to be changed. That's why do not hard code your connection string in the programming environment, something like this. For example, here SqlConnection, OBJ connection. Okay. SqlConnection, OBJ connection is equal to new SqlConnection. Here, we will provide the connection information, right? If I hard code it here, something like this, server is equal to database is equal to. Yeah, the dev server name is ADS. When it comes to QA, that is QADS. So this is going to be changed. Whenever I need to push this into QA, I should go to this .cs file and make the change every time. If I make any change inside the .cs file, this entire application has to be recompiled. That leads to a problem. That's why what we do, we usually keep whatever is getting changed frequently, we usually keep them in the configuration file, that is web.config. Web.config. Okay. Any questions, guys?
కాన్ఫిగ్ ఫైల్ అంటే నోట్ ప్యాడ్ నే కాన్ఫిగ్ ఫైల్ గా వాడతామా ఇక్కడ?
This is not notepad.
ఓకే.
This is not
అంటే
notepad, right?
కాన్ఫిగ్ ఫైల్ ఎడిట్ చేయాలంటే
Just here it is here now. Just if you click on this, it will take you to edit mode.
ఓకే.
See what I did? If I click on web.config, see that web.config will be open. Okay. Here you can add application variables. Add. These are the different properties of your configuration file. Okay. So whatever is required, just go ahead and do that. Okay. So here I'm going to add app settings. System.web. App settings. What I can do, I can add application related settings here. Okay. Here you can add a number of variables. Now I'm going to add my first variable, add key and value. So all your app settings will be stored internally in the form of a dictionary. When I say dictionary, every value will be stored in the form of a key and value. A key is going to be the key of your value. Okay, for example, here DB connection, I'm giving it as DB connection string. You can give any name. This is the key. And value is equal to, here give that value, like server is equal to whatever we are giving in the CS file. Server is equal to, give your server name. What is the server name here? LP001287. LP001287. Database is equal to Oxford. And I want to make use of Windows authentication. So trusted_connection or integrated security. Anything is fine. Trusted_connection is equal to true. There is no change, whatever we did in the Windows. So now what I'm doing? So I'm just adding a key. Okay, I moved my connection string value to configuration file. Okay, so whenever I need to access this value, I just need to provide the key. Okay, yeah, not only one key, one variable, I can add a number of variables based on my requirement. Right. So as I said, when you talk about application settings, all application settings will be stored in the form of a dictionary. So whenever you want to store something, that has to be stored using a key. Give some key name and the actual value to be stored. So whenever you need to access this value, you just need to make use of this key. Any questions, guys? That is the use of
No.
configuration file.
No,
Now what I
sir.
will do, now I will not hard code anything here. Are you to me? Just leave it as, just leave it empty. Leave it empty. So inside button click. What I will do?
Can we do, sir? Can we do the same thing in Windows form?
Yes. In Windows, I showed you right in the first class, app.config.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Same thing.
okay.
They're also same thing. You will have application setting. Same thing everywhere. Everywhere. Not only Windows, everywhere. In console also, you will have app.config. Everywhere. If something, not only connection string, if you feel like something is getting changed frequently, you need to make changes frequently, then get it moved to your configuration file. So the difference is, if I keep it here, for example, whenever I push this application to create, if I make any change in the .cs file, the entire application has to be recompiled. But if I make any change in the .webconfig, you don't have to recompile your application. You just need to save this. That's it. It doesn't impact your application. It doesn't require any compilation. So that's why we keep these values in configuration file. That's the advantage of having these values in the configuration. Any questions?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, that's one thing. Next, here using we have a DL called system.configuration. Okay, now obj_con, this is my connection, is equal to dot connection. It comes with a property called connection string. Here you can provide your connection string. Here we did not provide it, right? During its initialization, we did not provide it. So this can be provided later. Here I can provide obj connection string is equal to, here I can provide this configuration manager dot app settings. Here I can see app settings. App settings off. Here you can provide the index or name. Okay, index or name of the key. All right, that's why we need a key. App settings off. If I provide this key, it will get the value for me. I just need to provide the key. Dot to string. To string. What it will do? It will go to app settings. Okay. Here my dictionary name is app settings. So all app settings will be stored in the form of a dictionary. It will search with this key, and whatever is associated with this key, it will extract that value. Right now, whenever I make any change, whenever I need to repoint this to QA, I just need to change the server here, but no need to make any change inside the code behind file. That is what we do in the real-time environment. Any questions? Okay.
No, sir.
And rest of the process is similar. What has to be done? My connection object is ready. Next, prepare your command object, then open the connection. And again, you will have those three methods, same methods: execute reader, execute scalar, execute non-query. Here also you'll have your data set, data adapter, data reader, data table. Are you with me? Everything is same. Okay, only the control creation and environment is different. But if you want to connect to any database from your web application, the rest of the process is going to be same. And what has to be done? I should create command object. SqlCommand obj command is equal to new SQL command. Next, what is the first property? Obj command, same thing. Obj command dot connection is equal to obj con. Next, obj command dot command to type, same, whether command type is text or stored procedure. Command to type dot stored procedure. Okay. Next, obj command dot command to text is equal to, it is a stored procedure, so provide name of your stored procedure. What is the name of my stored procedure? So this is the name of my stored procedure. Right. Next, what has to be done? Yes, my command is also ready. Next, open the connection and execute your command. Okay. So before opening the connection, I need to check the status of the connection. If obj_con dot state is equal to connection state dot closed. Connection state dot closed. Okay, if the status is cold, system data is not important. Using system dot data. Okay. Obj connection, if the status is closed, then open the connection. Same, whatever we did in the Windows, similar thing here. And keep, how do I handle the exception? Same thing, keep the try and catch. Again, same C# code, there is no difference. When it comes to count actions, again, same C# code, catch, exception, EX, right? How? Once the connection is open, now what has to be done? Now you have to execute your command. So your command object comes with 3 methods: execute reader, execute scalar, execute non-query. And what has to be used here based on this? What does it return? It returns a single value. If the user exists, it returns 1, otherwise it returns 0. Now which method has to be used? Execute reader or execute scalar or execute non-query? Guys,
Execute scalar, sir.
yeah, execute scalar because it is going to return a single value. Now, the value will be written in the form of an object, so just convert it. Convert to dot 2 into 32 of this. It is going to return a value. So if this value is equal to 1, it means yes, user exists. Okay. Else, here we have an object called a response. A response dot. In HTML, we used to write document dot write, right? Here we have a class called response. As a response, so once your web page gets processed, what your server will do, what your ASP.NET will do, it will combine everything into a response object and send it back to the client. Okay, so everything will be there in the response object. It comes with a write and a redirect, a write and redirect. So on successful login, if the user has to be redirected to some other page, what has to be done? Once the login is successful, he should be redirected to some main page, right? So you can use a redirect method. Otherwise, you can use a write method. If you want to display some message on the web form, on the same web form, use write method. If you want to redirect the user to another web page on successful login, then use a redirect method, where you need to mention the address of another web page. So where to redirect? So here I just want to display some message. Right. Okay. Response dot right. Login is successful. Otherwise, if you want to redirect him to some other website, response dot redirect. It can give any name. The web page can be from your project. You can also redirect him to another websites. For example, if you're purchasing something online, for example, if you take your Walmart or Flipkart, right? You will select your product in the Flipkart. Then when you click on pay, you will be redirected to payment page. There you have to complete your payment. Then again, you'll be redirected back to your Flipkart, right? So there you are getting redirected from Flipkart to another third-party website, payment gateway. There you are completing the payment details. Once it is done, again, you'll be redirected back to your Flipkart. So from here also, if you want to redirect the user from one web page to another web page, one website to another website, you can do this. For example, if I say here, http www.google.com. Now what happens? User will be redirected to Google. Else, document, sorry, here response dot write invalid username or password. Are you getting me? Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. Next. So our table technically doesn't contain any information, right? So next, a registration. Add one for web form. Because in order to perform login, first he has to be registered with our website. User registration. user registration. Okay, so here this is a user registration page. So here you can add your things like add panel or group box, whatever it is. This is my panel. And inside this panel, go to source. Okay, add your labels and controls and everything. ASP label ID is equal to LBL username. Run it is equal to server. Text to be displayed is equal to user name. Next, ASP text box ID is equal to ext username. Run it is equal to server. Next, break. Next, password. Next, first name, last name. Next, gender. For gender, it should be a drop down list. LBL password. TXT password. Next, LBL first name. First name. TXT first name. Okay. Next, LBL last name. Last name. TXT last name. Okay. And let's add some more fields to your existing table. Alter table, table name, users, and let's add email. Varchar of 100. Next, let's add primary and secondary phone. Primary phone, varchar of 10. Next, secondary phone. Next, country, varchar of 100. Next, state, varchar of 100. Right. So let's also modify the stored procedure. Save, modify. We need to add a few more. What is that? First one is email, varchar of 100. Next, primary phone, varchar of 10. Next, secondary phone, varchar of 10. Next, country, varchar of 100. Next, state, varchar of 100. And insert after address, email, primary phone, secondary phone, country, state. So here also to email, what has to be inserted? At the rate email, at the rate primary phone, at the rate secondary phone, at the rate country, at the rate state. Guys, are following me? Okay, guys.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. Now let's go back here. We to place username, password, first name, last name. Okay. And gender. So when it comes to gender is going to be a drop down list. LBN gender. Gender should be a radio button or drop down list. Okay. So I want to keep a drop down list. You can actually keep a radio button. Okay. So how do I keep a drop down list? ASP drop down list. There we call it as combo box. A combo box is nothing but a drop down list. ID is equal to DDL gender. Next, run it is equal to server. And here you can add list of items. You can also get it from database. You could also get it from database. So how do I get it from database? Here create some more tables. Create table gender ID int identity of 1,1. Okay. 1,1. Next, gender. Varchar of, not varchar, it is going to be, okay, male, female, and you can also display something like that. Varchar of care of 1. Okay. Gender care of 1. Execute it and insert some data. These are called reference tables, master tables. Right? For example, when it comes to users, day by day, the table size will be increased. As we keep on adding new users, table size will be increased. But when it comes to gender, it is going to have fixed number of predefined values. So we do call this kind of tables as reference tables, master tables. Department will have fixed number of values. It's a reference table, master table. Gender is a master table. Country is a master table, reference table. Okay, in real time, we do call them as reference tables. Insert into gender values. One is male. Next, female. Next, other. right? If I say select star from gender, every time, why should I hard code it in the front end? Rather, I can get it from the database and bind these values to my drop-down list, right? In a similar way, you should have your country ID. Okay, next ID is nothing but country ID. Okay, code, country code, varchar of 50, and country name, varchar of 100. Country name. Now insert into country values. ID is an identity value. Country code, for example, IN means India. Next, SA means South Africa. Next, USA, United States of America. UK, like this you can have a number of countries. Select start from country. Right now, I don't want to hard code in Windows application. We have added all these values right there in the front end itself. Now I want to get these values from the back end. Okay, now coming to state, it is going to have states of this particular country, but how do I store these state values? So this is state ID. We should store country code. This is very, very important. This country code should exist in this table. Country code should exist in this table. Are you getting me? Country code should exist in this table. Okay. So if you want to cross-check this every time with this table, so you should make it as foreign key. Okay. Right now I'm not making this, but you should make it as foreign key in the reality. Okay. Country code and state name. Okay, because whenever I say IN, I should go to state table and filter the data using IN. So whatever is associated with IN, that should come here. So insert into state, country code, India. What is the state name? Telangana. Execute it. Next. Insert into state. State, there is a user defined value, like system defined value. Insert into state values. Oh, we did not create this table. If anything, I highlighted with this blue color, it means it is saying that there is a system defined keyword with the same name. So if you want to get rid of that, just use square bracket, keep them in the square bracket. That's it. Insert into state. Yes, Telangana. Next, Andhra Pradesh. Punjab. Karnataka. Like this, using the code. What is the code of the country? IN, and this is a state. Next, if I want to insert the US, what is the code of US? USA. Read to me. Washington, New York, SCA, NA, right? Like this, we would be inserting. When I say state, okay. See, now do I filter my data? Select star from state where country code is equal to IN. Now what it will give me? It will get all states of India. Select start from state where country code is equal to USA. It will give me all states of USA. In the same way, you would add states of all countries. This is what we do. Any questions, guys?
No.
Now let's go back. If you want, you can add it here. ASP list item. I can add something like this here. Male. ASP list item. Female. Arithmetic. But what we are doing, we are hard coding it here. I don't want hard code it here. Rather, I want to get it from the database. Leave it here. Okay. Any questions, guys?
No.
No, sir.
Now gender is done. Next. Next. Country, state. LBL, country. Country. DDL, country. LBL, state. State. DDL, state. Next. User type. LBL, user type. User type. DDL, user type. You can also get this from database, but I am just hard coding it here. We can see both now. Select user type is the first item. Next. Student. Next. Staff. Next. Admin. Right? User first name, like username, password. You can also give confirm password. Password and confirm password. Confirm password. LBL and TXT. Confirm password. Okay. So we're done with username, password, first name, last name, gender, user type. Next, address, email, primary phone, secondary phone is pending. Right? Now, address, email, primary phone, secondary phone. LBL, address. So your mode should be multi-line text box because address should be address txt address here text mode should be a multi-line text box. Multi-line. There's a multi, you can also have scroll bars. Okay, it's not required. Next. LBL email of the user. And ID is txt email. Next. LBL primary phone. Primary phone. txt primary phone. Next, LBL secondary phone. Right? txt secondary. Now, finally, I'm going to place another control called button for saving ASP button. ID is equal to btn save user. Run it is equal to server. And text to be displayed on the button is save user. Any questions, guys? Now we have created different types of controls. Go to design. Username is a
No.
text box. Password and confirm password. First name, last name, gender, country, state, user type. Right? And this is multi-line text box. If you want, you can. Okay. There is address. Email, primary phone, secondary phone. If you want these things to be arranged properly, okay, as I said, I've shown you some basics of HTML. You need to start practicing all types of HTML. Okay. If you want these things to be arranged properly, you have to keep them in a table or div. How do I keep them in a table? Go to source. Now what I will do, create a table. Create a table. In MVC, we will see that bootstrap and all, but here, let's see how to create a table manually. Table. And give the width of the table. These are the different properties of table. Okay. Border, length, and width. Okay. A table will have, what is a table? Table will have a collection of rows and columns. I want to have two columns. First column should have label, field name. Second column should have the control. TR will create a row. In this, I'm going to have two columns, TD and TD. What I'm doing, inside table, I'm creating my first row. How do I create it? Using TR tag. If I say TR, one row will be created. And inside that row, if I use TD, the first column will be created, table data, second column will be created. So now I'm going to move this control. Username should go to first column. Just keep it here. And this should go to second column. That's it. Now break is not required. Break is not required because it is a table. Next, first row is done. Next, create second row. Read me. Create second row. Keep the second one. TR, TD, PD. Keep these things. TR. How many? Based on your controls, you can keep as many as you need. Okay. Yeah. TR. TR. These many rows will be created. Right? Now move the second one. and control should go to next one. Right. Next, go to third row. Third tier. Keep third control. Keep this in here. This one here. Next. Fourth. If you go to your design, now you can see the proper structure. See, now these are aligned properly, right? Username. This is first data, table data, second table data. These are aligned properly. Any questions, please?
No, sir.
One, two, three, four. Now 5. Copy this. Table data. Okay. Table data. Table data. Gender. Right. Yeah. TD. Country. And country drop down. Next, another TR. TD. TD. State drop down. Right. TR. TD. User type. I'm just adding the PRs. ED. Okay, so this TR is done. Yeah. TD. End of TD. TD. End of TD. Next, TR. TD. End of TD. Second TD. End of. If you press Control KD, the alignment will be taken automatically. So last year, TD. And one TD for button. TR. And your button, for button, we have, it is only one control, right? So in this case, you can combine two cells. Two cells. If I want to combine two cells into one cell, if I want to merge two cells, here we have property called column span is equal to 2. If I give it as 2, what it will do? It will merge two cells into one cell. And align is equal to center. Now go and check. See. Here what it did? It has combined. See, every row is having two cells, right? Label and control. Here we have combined two cells into one cell. And we aligned it to center. Now, see, now it is looking little better, right? Compared to previous one. Any questions, guys?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. And you can also give the heading something like this. Add one more row. PR. Table data. Column span is equal to 2. Merge the cells. And align is equal to center. Give some heading. ASP label ID is equal to LBL title. Run it is equal to server. Text to be displayed. Registration form. And here you can give 4 color, back color, and everything. 4 color, pick color. Okay. Something like this. You can also keep this entire thing in the center. Okay. Yes. We have a tag called, you can keep this entire thing. We have a tag called center. Now see, you can see this thing in the center. right? So please play with HTML controls. Okay, you need to learn all the tags. This is my registration form. Now it is looking more better, right? Now what has to be done? First, we have to do one by one. Okay. Now, whenever I click on this, what happens? Actually, in order to run this on the web page, it has to be deployed into web server. It has to be deployed into web server. So what it will do, whenever I click on this, what your ASP.NET will do, it will create a temporary IaaS server. It will create a temporary IaaS server, Internet Information Services. And it will host your website temporarily into that IaaS so that you can run your web form on the browser. Now here, you should tell the system like which form should be considered as starting form, right? So just right click on this. For example, I want this to be considered as starting form. Right click on this, set as start page. Now run this. Now what it is doing? Yeah, see, this is your registration form. Yeah, this is my URL, website URL. As I said, it has created a temporary IaaS. Here I can see the IaaS Express. It has created a temporary web server. It has hosted your website into that temporary IaaS. That's why now you can see here. Okay, username, password, everything. First, gender is showing nothing. First, I need to populate the gender values. I need to populate the gender values. I need to populate the country. And coming to state, state will be driven by country. Here we need to implement drop-down cascading. Like the way that we have implemented in your Windows. Whenever I select country India, only India state should be populated. If I select USA, only USA state should be populated. So here I can see the user type because I hard coded these values within the programming environment. That's why I can see this. Any questions, guys?
No.
Okay, now let's see how to bind this data. How do we have to get gender values because we have created a table in the backend called gender. Get gender values from there. Okay, and bind it to this. Create a SP, create pros SP underscore get gender as select start from gender. Now if I call this SP, it will give me gender details. Next, SP underscore get countries. Select star from country. Now, if I execute this, it will give me list of countries. Next, get states. When it comes to states, you have to pass the code of the state. The code of the country, like which states, like which country states do you want to get or populate? So it is going to require a parameter. What is that? Country code. Select start from states where country code. Select star from state. It has country code where country code is equal to country code supplied from the end user. Country code where care of 50. Right? If I say country code as India, what it will give me? It will just give me only India. If I give it as USA, okay, right? We have stored procedure ready. Now let's call them from here. Now when these dropdowns should be populated, Whenever this web form is loaded, then gender, country should be populated. State will be populated when you select something from country. But whenever form is loaded, you have to call this. Okay. So whenever form is loaded, like your Windows form, whenever your Windows form is loaded, what happens? Your form load event will be executed. If you want to perform any action on load, we used to write our actions inside the form load. Here also same thing. It will have your web form will also have form load event. To see that, just double click on it. One second. Stop it. Now if I click on form load, now I can see page load. There it is a Windows form. That's there we call it as form load. Here we call it as page load. Whenever this page, this class is instantiated, this is like a constructor. It will be called immediately. You don't have to call it explicitly. So whenever your web page is loaded, immediately this load event will be executed. Right? Whenever page is loaded and the data in this dropdown should be populated. Now what you have to do? So in page load event, you would get data from database and bind it to these two dropdowns. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. Now go here, write it. Okay. So again, same thing, write your code using system.data using system.data.SQL client, same thing. Okay, I'm just going to copy it from here since we already written most of the stuff here. I'm just going to copy this SQL connection, initiate the connection. Next, let's write some private methods. Private void bind gender drop down list. Okay, this will take care of binding gender drop down list. Here I'm going to use this stuff up to here. What it will do? It will just configuration using system.configuration. Okay, it will get the connection string information from your app settings, create the command, assign this, and the command type is going to be stored procedure, command type of stored procedure, and which SP has to be called. Here it is going to be get genders. Just refresh it. You will see all your stored procedure. Get gender, SP underscore get gender. Get gender. What get gender will get? It will get the gender details like ID and gender. ID and gender. Now open the connection. It is going to get more than one way ID, right? It is going to get more than one way ID. So probably you can make use of data adapter and data set. SQL data adapter, OBJ adapter is equal to new SQL data adapter, and give the command. We have already seen this in our Windows. Make use of SQL data adapter. Okay. And SQL data adapter comes with set of commands like select, insert, update, and delete. What it will do, it will execute this command and extract the result. Now you have to have a in-memory data set to store that result. Data set DS. Okay, 5 minutes, sir. Okay, 10 minutes, sir. Konche meeting lo. Create your data set. Data set DS generate is going to be data set. Create data adapter, and while building your data adapter, give the command, because command has everything, connection information, which SP has to be called and everything. Okay. Now what has to be done? Call fill method of OBJ adapter to execute your command and fill data into your data set. Right? What fill method will do? It will execute this command and get the result, fill it into this data set. Any questions, guys?
No.
Now what has to be done?
No.
This has to be binded to your drop down list. What is the name of drop down list? DDL gender dot data source is equal to, what is the source of this? DS gender dot tables of 0. The first table of this data set. Next, DDL gender dot text and value. Text and it has two properties, text and value. Let me explain this. Text DDL gender dot value. Data value field, data text field. Data text field and DDL gender dot data value field. Here, as I said, every drop-down list contains, the item of every drop-down list contains two properties, text and value. Text means what has to be displayed, what has to be visible, what has to be presented. And as I said, you can bind two different values. Each item of your drop-down list is nothing but a dictionary where you can have a key and value, key and value. Alright, you can bind both text and value. For example, when it comes to employee ID, I want to display employee name. So whatever has to be displayed, whatever has to be shown to the user should be taken as text field. And along with that employee name, I should also want to, I should also bind the actual identity of the employee. So there, I want to take the employee ID as value and text as name as text. So if you want, you can bind two, or if you want, you can also bind only one. That depends upon your requirement. For example, in case of gender, I want to bind both gender as well as the ID of the gender. So you can take the text, the gender, actual gender name to be displayed as a text, and the identity of that particular column as value. Or you can take only one. It's up to you. Are you with me? So in our case, this is going to give me execute stored procedure. ID and gender. Gender should be displayed. Gender should be shown to the end user, right? But whenever user select this, I need to know what user has selected this, right? For example, in class of, let's say this is employee ID, employee name. There can be more than one employee with the same name, but employee ID is unique, right? So in this case, whenever user selects something, if you want to know the actual identity of that particular value selected by the user, you may need to bind two columns to your drop-down list. Gender as text, employee name as text, actual identity as value. In our operation, our process would become much more easier to identify the unique thing selected by the user. Any questions, guys?
No.
No,
Okay.
no, sir.
So here I can see gender, you should provide the column name, gender as text field and ID as value field. ID will not be visible, but whenever the gender is selected, it will give me the corresponding identity. So based on this, I can go to my database and I can easily identify this thing. But if you want, you can bind the same column to both. I can take gender as text as well as gender as value. This is also okay. Alright, but there is no use. Okay, if you're binding something, okay, better bind both text and value, and the description should be taken as text. The actual identity, the unique thing should be taken as value. Whenever you need to perform some operation on this item, your process would become much more easier to identify the things. Okay, any questions, guys?
No.
Gender and ID. Next, DDL gender dot data bind. Keep a breakpoint. Now what has to be done? This is bind drop down list. Bind gender drop down list. In the similar way, I need to call country. Bind country drop down list. Okay, similar thing, only this is going to be changed. Get countries. Get countries. Get countries. It will get the countries. And here it is going to be, when I say get countries, execute stored procedure, it is going to get code and country name. In this case, I need to bind both code and country name, because whenever user select India, I need to populate India states in the next drop down. But in order to populate India states, I would be needing the code. So whenever I select something, it should give me the corresponding code. In this case, I should take text as country name and value as code. I can easily identify because I'm binding the code along with the description. If something is selected, immediately, from here itself, I can get the code and pass it to get states drop down. Here it is going to be country name and code. And what should be my text? Country name. Right? And what should be my value? It should be code. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. Next, get state. For state, get bind state drop down. For state, I need to know the code selected, country code selected by the user. String country code. Because for state drop down, I need to pass the country code. Get states. Get states. Get states. Right? Here I need to add one parameter. Obj comment dot parameters dot add with the. What is that? At the rate country code. Okay, either I can take it as a parameter or it is going to be DDL country drop down dot selected item, selected value, selected text. Here you can see two things. Selected index, it will give you the index of the item selected by the user. Now selected value or selected item dot, here you can see text and value. Text will give me the country description and value is giving me country code. Now I can directly take the country code, which is nothing but value. Read me and pass it to this. Now it is going to give me the state drop down. Execute. If I give in, it will give me India states. It is going to give me the country code and state name. Now I need to populate the state name and country code. Right? Now, first, whenever my form is loaded, what has to be done? So this form load event will be executed. Now I should call this method to bind gender drop-down list. It calls this method. So what it will do? It will bind the gender drop-down list, and it should also bind country. I should also bind country. Read me. And when should I bind state? Whenever user select country, then the state has to be populated. the values of state has to be populated based on country selected from the country dropdown. But whenever I select something from country, it is a dropdown list. What happens immediately? Selected index changed event will be executed. On selected index change event, you would identify the country selected by the user, and based on that, you would bind this. So generate that event, double click on country dropdown list. So this event will be executed, and from this event, you will call bind state dropdown list. What it will do, whenever any item is selected from the country dropdown, immediately this event will be triggered. Here, you would call this method. What this method will do, it calls get states, and it will identify the value country selected by the user that will be passed as a parameter. Any questions, guys?
No.
Let's create
No, sir.
a breakpoint. Please give me a second. Okay, guys, so let's run this. Okay, now it came to this because the form is loaded. Press F10, open the connection is open. Now it will get data. Just go to your data set. Now you can see your data. See, I got ID and gender. Now what happened? I'm going to bind these to my drop-down list. So text field is gender and this. What happened? So what it is saying, if this is not closed, because we are calling more than one method, right? If it is code closed, then only initialize it. Otherwise, no need to initialize it every time. Okay, so see, we are opening the connection here and here. So we are, initializing the connection multiple times. So no need to initialize it multiple times. No need to get it multiple times. If it is not open, if the connection is closed, then only get it, reassign it. That's what I'm saying. If it is closed, then only get the connection string and assign it. Otherwise, no need to do that every time. Here also same thing. Just move this here. If is equal to closed, then only get it. Otherwise, no need to get it and change it every time. Right. Now run it. Right. Now see, now I got this thing populated. Gender. What is the name of this country? Did you change the names? SP get gender. Bind gender dropdown. Okay. Why? Here it is gender. We copied the code here. We did not change it. Here it should be DDL country. DDL country. DDL country. DDL country. And here it should be DDL state. Run it. Now I can see the gender is populated, male, female, and this. And country is also populated, India, South Africa. Now what has to be done? If I select something here, and it should populate the respective states. Okay. South Africa, India. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Now, if I select something here, it is not doing anything. Why? So, by default, it doesn't perform any auto post back. So, here you need to set this. Post back means sending request to the server and receiving response back. So, here in drop down list of country, if you want to implement drop down cascading, country, go to source. You need to set another property called auto post back is equal to true. Now, whenever I select something, it will post data to server and your request will get processed over there and response will be sent back to the this. And what happens whenever I select this? Whenever I click on this, what happens? The select index changed event of this will be executed. And if we are calling bind state dropdown list. So what it will do? It will just get the country selected by the user and call the stored procedure. Let's see that. This is called dropdown cascading. Because the values of state will be populated based on the value selected from country. UK. If I select this, so now it came here. Now what is the selected value here? And based on that, it will populate those values. So now I can see India, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka. Now if I select United States of America, see selected values, we need to clear the text. Clear the context, then populate it. DDL state dot items dot clear everything, clear that and repopulate the values. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay.
No.
And next one is we have to save this data, right? Now, whenever I click on save button, the click event will be generated. Whenever I click on save, what happens? The click event of save will be executed. So if you want to perform any action on save, so you have to write your action inside this click event. Now, what should we do? Similar coding, similar coding. Yes, I'm just going to copy this up to here. What should I do? I should check the connection state. If it is closed, get the connection details from this and open it again. Prepare your command object. Now here it is going to be save users. Save users. And it is going to take these many parameters. Now you need to add these many parameters. So now it is going to be save users. Now you have to add all those values. First parameter is going to be username. First, let me add this because we need to add almost 78. Okay. Okay. Now username. What has to be supplied to username? Txt username dot text. And next parameter, password. Txt password dot text. Whatever is entered in the password text box, that should be supplied. And next one is going to be first name. Here, txt first name dot text. And next one is going to be last name. Txt last name dot text. And next, gender. Txt. So here it is a drop down list. So you should select DDL gender dot selected item dot text should be saved. Next, user type. It is a drop down list again. DDL user type dot selected item dot text. Next, address. Txt address dot text. Next, email. This is txt email dot text. Next, primary phone. Txt primary phone dot text. Next, secondary phone. Txt secondary phone dot text. Next, country. Txt, not txt, it is a drop down list. DDL country dot selected item dot text. Next and last one is going to be state. DDL state dot selected item dot text. Any questions, guys? So we attached all the parameters. Now what has to be done? So it is not going to return anything. It will just update the data inside the data. So you have to call execute non-query. So obj command dot execute non-query and response dot write, print some message like data has been saved. Any questions?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. So now select star from users. Nothing is there. Now let's add some new records. Okay. Username test user 1. Password test. Confirm password test. So make it test password text box. Now during this, you can see this, but in login page, make it as password text box. So special characters will be displayed. First name 1, last name 1, female, UK, India, Andhra Pradesh, user type, student, test comments here, email, abc@gg.com, primary phone, 1122334455, second phone 1122334456, 551. Okay, now click on save user. Data has been saved. Go and check it. Now I can see this. Read to me. Okay. Now, if I click on this again, here you would observe few things. There are few mandatory fields. For example, if I do not provide first name, last name, and I try to save this, what happens? It will save. See. So these are mandatory fields. Next, second thing. I entered primary phone, second phone as same. Still, it is saved. But your secondary phone should not be same as primary phone. Right? It is saved. Next. I entered my email ID as something like this, ABCGGG. There is no dot at the rate. There is no at the rate. What happened? Still the data is saved. It's not a valid email, right? So you should take care of these kind of validations. You should take care of these kind of validation. In the next session, we will discuss about validation. So to take care of these kind of validation, so you don't have to write even a single line of code. So ASP.NET is providing some built-in validation controls. Okay. You can make use of those controls to perform basic validations like mandatory fields. And if something has to be, same as another one, like for example, if password should be same as confirm password. Your primary phone should not be same as secondary phone. To take care of these kind of validations, you can make use of built-in controls. If you want to do beyond it, then you can write your own code. Okay, tomorrow we will see validation controls. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so I want you to practice this thing. Please do watch my video. Okay, so going forward, we'll be working on complex solutions. If you do not practice these things on the same day, it is very difficult to understand the next class. Okay, please be very serious about it. So whatever I explained today, please go through it and create these things. Okay, create a registration form. Okay, with all these controls, where you'll get a chance to work with the HTML structure. You'll get a chance to create table and different controls. Okay, and bind those. Create a table, user table, create respective stored procedures, get data from database using connection command, and bind it to respective controls. Okay, I'm going to upload this video. So please do practice these things before coming to next session. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, guys. Okay, we'll meet tomorrow.